Well, viewers. Today is the 19th of May, and we're back in the same car park in Eastleigh where we were for the episode of No Budget Reviews last month. This car has been away with Mr. Coleman, the rubbish mechanic, for quite some considerable time. He actually got it on the 22nd of April. Because he works full-time and he's 125 miles away from here, sometimes it does take a while to get things sorted out, but of course, you know, it's well worth it because he is extremely good mechanic. He's called Rubbish Mechanic on his channel, but he's not really rubbish at all, not in the slightest. So yes, he works full-time in his other job, so it does take a while for him to kind of do things on the side in his free time. But we're going to go over some of the things that have been done to this car and some of the things that still need to be done. First of all, you can see actually the two indicators on the front are different colours. And the reason for that is because this one's been changed. I'll show you the original a little bit later, but that was the sort of first thing. Believe it or not, these wheel trims have actually been cleaned off and they look totally hideous still. They are the originals of the car. Front ones are particularly bad, but you can tell this car lived in London for 25 years, can't you? What we're actually going to do, because these trims are very old and brittle, and you know, I might be able to find some off a scrap early 440 or 460 or something like the GLs had the same wheel trims as these. Of course, the turbos had alloy wheels. Is to actually fit some alloy wheels. I think I might have hinted this before, but these tyres, yeah, they're starting to sort of crack and perish a bit. Mr. Coleman's uncle, called Neil, has given this car an MOT whilst it's been away. And yeah, it needs really a set of new tyres. These are okay for a little bit longer, say it was a couple of months. Thank you to the bird who did his business all over the side of his car, by the way. I'm going to get it clean later on today. They're okay for a couple of months. They've been inspected by Mr. Coleman, who used to be an MOT tester, by Neil, who is an MOT tester, and they are okay, but I am going to get them changed. We are going to have a whole new set of alloy wheels on this car, which will make it personally look better. It'll probably drive a little bit better as well with the alloy wheels, and we won't be able to break these wheel trims getting them on and off. It is pointless getting these painted again. I mean, they're all sort of disintegrating really. So we'll probably fit those to the car just before Festive of the Unexceptional, which will be in July. Now the car's actually in quite good condition. The chap who owned this for the last 25 years before I bought it did garage it, and the only real rust on the car is down here. As you can see, we've had that treated again, so that's going to be okay. But behind it, the sill is actually going a little bit soft in there, and that's something that Mr. Coleman's uncle Neil did point out when he had a look at the underneath of the car. And we are going to have to replace some of the metalwork in here. Mr. Coleman sort of treated it as best he can for now. You can't really see it in there, but we are going to have to replace some of the metalwork probably at some point next year. But overall, actually, considering this car actually was a Category D write-off a few years ago, and the impact was on this corner. Now, Mr. Coleman's reattached the bumper a little bit better than it was. You probably didn't even know that. But yeah, this car was a Category D write-off. This corner was damaged, but the paint blend is so good. I'm so sorry, viewers. This phone is really annoying when, you know, I've put it on aircraft mode and it's still 3 minutes into filming, decides it wants to do a software update, and there's nothing you can do about it. It just does it. Honestly, yeah, the paint blend is very good. The repair was done really quite well. You wouldn't know that anything had happened on this corner of the car. The shut lines of the boot are perfect. You wouldn't even know, so it was done very well. But of course, Mr. Coleman being Mr. Coleman, he actually did notice it. So that's why the car maybe was a little bit cheaper than, you know, it otherwise would have been, but it's been done so well you can't really tell. The boot floor of the car is really good, and there's also something else we've changed, which is this rear panel. You might not notice much difference, but we've got extra reflectors either side of number plate, because the original panel is now in the boot. It's just here, and you can see that panel would have originally been on the car. This one was given to me by Mike, who is the head of the Portsmouth section of the Volvo Owners Club. He just gave it to me because he just had it, I don't know why, but it's an original Volvo accessory, and it makes the car look a little bit better in my opinion, just some of these extra reflectors. It goes for the kind of smaller 760 facelift look, which I think what they were going for with these original 460s when they were launched in this country in April 1990. Yeah, I really must take this to the car wash. It's going to Retro Rides Weekend tomorrow, and so I do need to get this clean, don't I? It will be a lot better once I've done that. Right, and something else we need to show you as well. Actually, maybe it's good I haven't had this cleaned in a way, because we can see on the floor here, there's loads of little black specks of stuff. You can see them. That is because the dashboard has been disintegrating, and Mr. Coleman has fitted some of this tape here to kind of try to stop that happening so much. It's causing the dashboard to sort of rattle and bounce and things like that. It's very common in old 480s and 460s and 440s, particularly the pre-facelift ones like this. It is a lot better, but we'll go for a drive right at the end of this video, and you'll see it's not completely gone away because it's impossible to eliminate it. And there's actually another thing we need to do in the future which might help get rid of some of that rattle as well. Well, at least you've got a very, very nice clean engine bay now. This cap has been changed. That wasn't sealing properly. We've actually got costs for a lot of these items. That was about £10 or something. We've had a new thermostat. We've had the throttle body cleaned out. The idle control valve has been adjusted. Mr. Coleman's been working very hard in here. The cam belt has been changed because this car was built in 1990, it was registered January 91, and the cam belt was still the original one when Mr. Coleman took it out. It's getting a little bit slack. Fortunately, the car was still running sort of alright. We've also had this air intake pipe changed. I was very blessed by having one sent to me by the chap who runs the Volvo 400 series register, the Volvo Owners Club, a chap called David, which is very kind of him. This one is absolutely perfect. It's an original Volvo one too. The engine is still weeping all a little bit at the bottom. That is actually due to the sump nut. We need a new one of those. It's not going to be the end of the world though. But yeah, we will of course get one. He's also cleaned this engine bay for me, so when I go to Retro Rides Weekend, it'll look very nice. And it does. New oil filter there, new air filter, service has been done, oil's been changed, and we'll get to some of the sort of specifics in a bit, but yeah, he's been a busy boy, old Mr. Coleman. Don't know why I'm wearing this jumper, viewers, but you know, it's just the way it goes. So here is the old indicator. You can see there quite clearly why we need to change it. That was an MOT failure, so changed it. Be very careful when you're buying pre-facelift Volvo 440 or 480 indicators though from the front, because there's this type and then there's this type. As you can see here, they are completely different at the back. They look vaguely similar on the front, but you can see this one's actually got a different style of reflector in it. But yeah, when you're buying pre-facelift ones, make sure you get the right type. I have got this one here if anybody does need a spare one. Therefore, the driver's side. to show you as well, this was the original coolant reservoir cap, which was actually leaking and made a big hissing noise in the last video we did on this car. There's the tape Mr. Coleman used to sort of make the dash rattle a bit less. And put this indicator down, and this is the air intake pipe. Now at first glance it doesn't look too bad, but as you can see, we've got big holes in it like this, and this is why the car was actually running quite poorly, and other things. And yes, oh viewers, the original cambelt from 1990. To be fair, this is not in that bad condition. It's actually really good. It's a Gates type belt. Gates were the manufacturer for Volvo and Renault, actually, because there's a Renault engine in this car. And we've replaced it with another Gates one. And yeah, that's actually lasted really well. Is it a good idea to let your car go 32 years without having a cam belt change? Not really, no. That's probably not the best idea. We'll just put this one away and keep it for the sake of posterity. Right, Mr. Coleman has done 3 pages of work on this car. We've also got, at the back of here, some more work that needs to be done. So let's just go through this and see what we actually have had done. Oil filter, air filter, fuel filter, plugs, distributor cap and rotor arm, cam belt kit and tensioners, coolant replace and flush, radial expansion cap. Well, rather it's for coolant reservoir expansion cap actually, but I know what he means. Power steering fluid has been changed. The automatic gearbox has been serviced. It's had 2 front lower control arms. The air intake pipe has been replaced because it was split. There was a bad earth actually that came up on the 2022 MOT. Mr. Coleman has sorted that out for the rear lights. The brake fluid has been flushed. The 4 brakes have been stripped and inspected. They're actually okay. We think the front discs on this car might actually be original, which is interesting. It's got drums on the back. Clean out screen wash tank and hoses. That's very kind of Mr. Coleman to do that for me. Offside front indicator lens replace. Yeah, that's been replaced. The exhaust back box, that was loud and nasty and horrible. It only dated from 2015 on this car. And when you order a back box for a 440 or 460, the actual back box is all the same for all models. The thing that's actually different is the tailpipe, and so we had to order a tailpipe separately. So yeah, and we got onto the next page. Ooh. Right, oil filter, air filter, fuel filter, plugs, distributor cap, rotor arm, cam belt kit, front lower control arms, exhaust back box of tailpipe, and the oil came to £418.26. Right, next stuff here. Rear light issue, trace to pull bob contacts, clean fitting and replace all rear bulbs. Parts used from stock, he just has them around. Cam belt replacement's 4 hours. Coolant flush, a new cap for the coolant reservoir. That was 1 hour. Power steering fluid replacement 1 hour. Front lower control arms 2 hours. Automatic gearbox service. He had some fluid for that from stock, 2 hours. Strip and spec brakes and brake fluid change 3 hours. Replace distributor cap, rotor arm and all 4 plugs, 1 hour. Replace the exhaust back box and all the support rubbers. I had to buy some new ones of those, 2.5 hours. Replace the air intake pipe and clean throttle body and various sensors, 1 hour. Remove the screen wash tank and clean out mould. That sounds disgusting, doesn't it? Clean out mould and replace pipes and jet. Yeah, the left hand side wash and jet wasn't working, so that needed replacing. That took an hour. So we've had new bulbs in the headlights and a new indicator lens. Carry out road test, investigate poor running and dashboard vibration. Yeah, dashboard vibration. The idle was reset. The car was actually sort of cutting out when you sort of started, didn't rev it. Next page. Dashboard vibration calls. Glove box lid lock require adjustment to fit some insulation tape to tape a gap. Vibration appears to be collapsing rear engine mount. We're going to need 2 new engine mounts of this car eventually, viewers. Right, all work carried out 23rd of April, 16th of May. MOT test 16th of May with Uncle Neil at RM Autos in Nuneaton, who is a very, very experienced MOT tester. The total labour he's put here is 19 hours. Goodness me, that's an awful lot, isn't it? That is a lot. The work that needs to be done in the future: new sump nut, 4 new tyres, and we'll get those alloy wheels. A viewer of mine offered me them. They're off of 480, but they are the right period for this car and they're a direct swap. Replace engine mounts, front distant pad 70% worn. That's okay, we can do that later. We're only doing maximum 5,000 miles a year in this car. Exhaust centre box needs replacing, as well as the rear one. Starter motor needs replacing. It's getting a bit lazy to crank. The alternator is needing replacing. It's only supplying between 12.2 and 13.2 volts. It needs to be over 14. The welding needs doing on that bit I showed you. The rear dampers are starting to have reduced damping effect, and they need to be replaced. Apparently that's not too difficult a job. Starter motor is about £65 on the car. Rear dampers, I'm not sure. It's actually got a Watts linkage type thing at the back of this car, but it doesn't mean it handles that well. It is a bit sort of soft and roly-poly, but there's only so much that the alloy wheels will do to that. It's just generally probably best at some point to fit some new suspension, but I think we've done enough for now. Anyway, I think it's time to go for a drive, viewers, and conclude this extremely long video. Lloyd Vehicle Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. Right, viewers, you can probably still hear the dashboard having a nice vibrate. That is due to the engine mount. For some reason, on older front-wheel drive automatic cars like this one, it's far more common for them to have problems like this. Manual cars don't have this sort of problem. The dashboard is a lot better, but this road is very, very bumpy. This is like a sort of worst case scenario, I suppose, with this. Put that window up. It is, trust me, an awful lot better. The really weird thing about this car is the speedometer does still work properly, but it functions impeded by the fact that the actual paint is flaking off the surface of the instruments, and it's flaked off such an extent that one of the flakes has kind of stopped the needle moving properly, and sometimes that means that it parks too high when you stop it, about 15 miles an hour, and other times, like now, it's actually parked too low, below this little flake of paint, and it means that you need to go up to about 70 miles an hour to wind the tension in the needle up enough to go past that little flake. But anyway, so yes, we have a car that is a lot better than when I left it. Mr. Coleman doesn't actually run an official business. He does this because he is very helpful, and the labour rates he charges, it's 19 hours in total labour. I won't tell you what he's charged because that's between you and me, but it is a bit ridiculous really considering what he's done. So thank you again to him, and there's a video of how bad the back box was on his channel. If you want to see it, I'll put a link to the description in description below. Thank you so much once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more exciting Volvo updates, I suppose.